Hello everybody, it's me, it's Alex, and it's Monday, which you know what that means? It means it's Book Monday! Woo! But, before I talk about the books I have read this last week real quick, I just wanted to say I had an amazing weekend during which I did not have to work on Saturday, so that was super cool. And I got to see on Saturday night, I went to see the movie The Post, which is the newest Steven Spielberg movie. And I mean, you know, going and seeing a Steven Spielberg movie is like a safe bet because I can't think of one he's done that's been like boring and unentertaining and bad. I mean, there's some that I'm less interested in than others. And like, I mean, I saw Bridge of Spies when it came out, and it was okay. I couldn't tell you what it was about now, because it made almost no impression on me. But at the time, it was fine. It was definitely worth my entertainment dollar. And I will say, The Post was definitely, that one's gonna stick with me. It's about, when the Pentagon Papers were being released, and the New York Times, the Nixon government actually prevented the New York Times from putting out any more of the documentation, because it was basically it got a court injunction, which was a really big deal because that's a massive threat to freedom of press. And then the Washington Post got its hands on more of the Pentagon Papers, and they started publishing, and then that kind of set off a cascade of a bunch of other papers being like, no, we're gonna publish this because the public has a right to know, and free press, baby. So it's a love letter to the press. It's an exhortation to the press to buck up, basically, and there's several scenes in there where they're discussing Tom Hanks' character. I can't remember any of these characters' names because they're actually real life people and I'm terrible at names. So, but he's discussing with the lady who owns the Post, who's played by Meryl Streep, and both of them are just fantastic because of course they are. But he's talking about how as a reporter, he was very, he was good friends with Jack Kennedy, and, she had a really good relationship with a bunch of the presidents, and kind of this time period where, and it has kind of that access journalism feel where it's we were friends with the politicians, and they would talk to us and give us our stories. And the point that gets made several times, particularly by Tom Hanks' character, is that isn't a world we live in anymore, and the politicians we can't think of them as our friends. It's our duty to report on them and blah 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 blah, especially because the point was made that the Nixon White House was a real sea change because suddenly it was all about protecting the reputation of the president. I mean, not that it wasn't previously, but that felt like a very pointed commentary. There was a lot of what felt very pointed about we stayed in Vietnam not because we thought we could win, but because the embarrassment of an American defeat was unacceptable, and about the conflation of the reputation of a single man, of the president, with the good of the nation. So it's an excellent movie, and it is extremely timely, and it also just gave me a little warm fuzzy because the Washington Post is my paper of choice. So there you go. So that was really good. And then Sunday I got to hang out with my best friend, because we've got this writing project that we started together years and years and years ago, and we've been trying to get together to kind of lay it out and clean it up and all that, and we finally got to sit down, and I got to have fun with note cards, because normally I do all my outlining on computer, which is fine when it's only one of you working on it and you can move shit around however much you want. But when it's two of you, it works so much better to just have everything on note cards, and then you both can move them around, or it can be all right, let's get rid of this point, so what are the logical things we need to connect these, and add new note cards in, and that was a lot of fun. And, you know, it was great getting to do that with Kat. And I love working with people on stuff like that because my friends always come up with way cooler ideas than I have on my own. And it's also really like, I love that, you know, my best friend is an outliner because I don't know if I could manage to work with a pantser. So we were both, you know, so we got to hang out and do that, and that was cool. So hopefully your weekend was as awesome as mine and you got to sleep as much as I did, other than hopefully a cat did not vomit on your bed at 2 a.m. on Sunday. And let's talk about books. So I did not do like the world's most reading last week, and part of that was just I was just running all over the place in town, and part of it is just I've got all this other stuff that I'm trying to get done. And then, I mean, my God, I was working like 12-hour days, and I'd get home and I'd just be like, brain is oatmeal. So I did finish listening to Who Killed Sherlock Holmes by Paul Cornell, which all the audiobooks are really good. Like, the narrator on them is excellent. And like, it's the latest book in the Fall in London series, which I've mentioned them before, where it's like, you know, kind of like gritty detective stuff with, you know, urban fantasy, like London magic. And every book, it's like, oh, you have solved a small problem and created an even bigger problem, and this was no exception. And kind of like the answer to the question of who killed Sherlock Holmes was a thing I was not expecting at all. Like, I really enjoy these just because he always just goes off in a direction that I did not predict. Occasionally I don't agree with it, but, you know, hey, like, they're still really fun and entertaining reads, and it's not like he's writing particularly for me. So there was like really good stuff in this one. This is my favorite of the 3 so far, and I'm definitely looking forward to the next one. So recommend that. I read a little like short story novelette thing that Courtney Milan, my God, I'm sorry, Courtney, as if you would ever listen to this, called The Year of the Crocodile, which is a side story in her Cyclone series, which so far has like Trade Me and Hold Me, I want to say. And The Year of the Crocodile is basically about Tina and Blake, the 2 characters from the first book, Trade Me, and their parents meeting. And it's a thing, you know, it's because basically like Blake's dad is an uber rich billionaire capitalist, kind of obnoxious dude, and Tina's parents are refugees from, you know, political refugees from China. So you can kind of see where the conflict would come in with that. And there's like these amazing interactions between Blake's dad and Tina's mom that are just, oh my God. Like, there's the best part is like Blake's dad, Adam, goes to talk to Tina's mom, and sorry, I keep like messing with my face, but it's not like you watch these videos for my excellent cinematography. Anyway, so they're like, Tina's mom works as a cake decorator in Walmart. And so he just like comes into Walmart to talk to her, and she makes him fill out like a cake decorating form. And starts decorating a cake while she's talking to him, and puts a giant dick on it. So he has to go buy a dick cake, which is great. But at one point he's kind of, you know, she's like going after him because he's like got a factory he's opening up in China and all that. And, Adam's like, well, I mean, you work at Walmart, blah, 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 their labor practices. And Tina's mom is just like, don't try to tell a child of the Cultural Revolution that there's no difference between owning the means of production and working within the system in order to survive. You're embarrassing our grandchildren that we don't have yet. I mean, that, like, just shit like that, it was just amazing. So it's a fun little side story. I mean, you have to read Trade Me first before you can read The Year of the Crocodile, or else it'll make no damn sense. But I really recommend Courtney's books anyway. And the thing that I'm super excited about in it is you get some stuff from Adam's perspective, and he's like sending emails to an account of someone who is no longer answering, and you know, there's like, obviously he has lost someone he loves, and I am like 99.9% sure that I know who that is, and I'm really like about it. And she is writing like a book about Adam that like ranges a long period of time. So I am like so excited for when Courtney finally publishes that, because I think I know what's going on, and I'm really happy about it, because ooh, Courtney's so good, and I'm not gonna say anything more because it's like spoilery, but I'm really excited about that. And then I'm still kind of like poking at from a certain point of view, which, to be honest, I think is going to end up getting taken back by the library because I've got it on overdrive and I think I've only got like 6 or 7 days left on it. But I mean, I've liked a couple of the ones, like Ken Liu's little short story was fun, and I really liked Mur Lafferty's little short story in there, and the rest of them just like, because it really, because, you know, I said before, it's kind of like reading like little Star Wars fanfic vignettes, which there's nothing wrong with that, but at this point when I read fanfic, I want there to be like dicks. I don't know. I want it to be a kissing book, basically. It's just not really doing it for me, and there's nothing wrong with that, because I think it's just that short stories are really not my thing, and I don't read them that much. So, you know, I'd say if you're super into Star Wars and you like short stories, still get it and read it. It's just, like, not for me, and there's nothing wrong with that. Because it's mostly just, like, expanding upon, like, little tiny side characters where in a way where there's so little space for them to do anything that a lot of these stories I'm reading it and I'm kind of like, okay, I don't know, like, what this really added, which, again, that's just me. Like, it's probably like a really cool thing for a lot of other people. So I think at this point I'm more likely to just kind of go through and cherry pick a few more stories that are by writers that I know that I really want to look at them. But I don't think I'm going to read the thing cover to cover because I kind of just, or I might do a lot of skimming. I don't know. We'll see. So anyway, that's what I've been reading. I'm still working on my Lewis and Clark book. After I finished Who Killed Sherlock Holmes, the next audiobook I started up was Devil in the Grove. I don't remember if that's, I think that's the title. I might have messed it up slightly, but it's the book about Thurgood Marshall and the Groveland boys. So that is just like tragic, upsetting, well, I mean, not tragic, but like upsetting history, but it's really interesting because it's about Thurgood Marshall and it's important to read. And I've been hearing really good stuff about that book, and it is very well written so far. And I'm just actually rereading another of Courtney Milan's novels because it was one where I read a side story and then I wanted to go back and reread the first one. It's Once Upon a Marquess, which is the first book of the Worth saga, and so I'm just rereading that and having a lot of fun with it, and then we'll see what like fiction book I end up reading next. I guess we'll just see if something gets randomly checked out to me by the library. But, so that's what's going on, and hopefully you've got good books you were reading, and tell me about them.